Among all primates, humans are different, not just in our brains but in our bodies. And hidden in that difference lies one of evolution's most private mysteries: why human reproduction took a path unlike any other species on Earth. From concealed ovulation to painful childbirth, from lifelong bonds to grandparental care, our species rewrote the rules of how life continues. But what forces shaped this unique design, and what does it reveal about what it means to be human? In the animal kingdom, reproduction is often a public affair. Most primates advertise fertility. Female chimpanzees, for instance, develop bright swellings when they're ready to mate. It's a clear biological billboard. Now is the time. But humans are different. We hide ovulation. There are no obvious signs, no signals to announce the fertile moment, not even to the woman herself. This concealment reshaped social life. It blurred the link between sex and reproduction, encouraging constant pair bonding and emotional intimacy. In other words, sex stopped being a seasonal ritual and became a constant thread of human connection, a bridge of trust, affection, and even strategy. This small evolutionary twist helped transform a biological act into the foundation of love, cooperation, and society itself. Childbirth is perhaps the most dramatic evidence that human reproduction took a difficult path. For most mammals, giving birth is relatively smooth, but for humans it's perilous. The baby's large head, evolved to house an expanding brain, must pass through a pelvis narrowed by bipedalism. It's a perfect storm of biology. Intelligence demanded bigger brains, while walking upright demanded tighter hips. The solution? Evolution made human infants arrive early, fragile, underdeveloped, utterly dependent. A newborn foal can stand within hours. A newborn human cannot even hold its head. But this helplessness had a hidden advantage. It allowed our brains to keep growing outside the womb, shaped by experience and culture. We traded safety for adaptability, and that trade made us who we are. A helpless baby demands care not from one parent, but from many. Anthropologists call this cooperative breeding, a social system in which mothers, fathers, grandparents, siblings, and even unrelated allies share the responsibility of raising a child. This wasn't just cultural, it was evolutionary. Human infants are so demanding that no single caregiver could meet their needs alone. Survival depended on networks of support, and those who could empathize, communicate, and cooperate passed their genes forward. This system fundamentally rewired our psychology. It shaped our instincts for empathy, patience, and trust. Human communities didn't emerge from dominance or competition, but from shared vulnerability and collective care. Our compassion isn't a moral invention, it's an adaptation. We evolved to raise children together, and through that cooperation we built friendship, family, and the first sparks of civilization. The impulse to help others, in the end, is what made us human. Most animals mate only when reproduction is possible, but humans broke that rule entirely. We remain sexually active year-round, even when conception can't occur. Why would evolution favor such behavior? Because desire itself became a tool for survival. Constant sexual availability encouraged emotional connection, loyalty, and cooperation between partners. Pleasure driven by the brain's chemistry of oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin became nature's reward for attachment. In humans, sex transformed from a reproductive act into a form of communication, trust, and emotional bonding. It became the glue that held partners, families, and entire communities together. This enduring intimacy, lasting long after fertility ends, fostered stability and social cohesion. Love and desire were no longer just biological impulses. They became the architecture of civilization, shaping the empathy, loyalty, and partnership that allowed humanity to thrive. Another uniquely human twist lies in longevity. beyond fertility. In most animals, reproduction defines the limits of life. Once fertility ends, so does purpose. Yet human women often live decades after menopause, a fact that once puzzled scientists. Why would evolution favor individuals who can no longer reproduce? The answer may lie in what's known as the grandmother hypothesis. Freed from the dangers of childbirth, grandmothers became pillars of survival. They gathered food, protected the young, and passed down vital knowledge: how to find water, when to plant, what storms meant. Their memory became humanity's first archive. Tribes with active grandmothers had higher survival rates and more stable communities. Over generations, this transfer of wisdom evolved into something remarkable: culture itself. In humans, reproduction extended beyond genetics. It became the inheritance of stories, skills, and meaning, the passing of knowledge that turned survival into civilization. Every aspect of human reproduction, from our concealed ovulation to the emotional gravity of long-term bonds, tells a deeper story about how connection became our greatest evolutionary tool. Unlike most creatures, we don't rely solely on instinct or scent to reproduce. Instead, our survival depends on trust, cooperation, and shared meaning. Pair bonds allowed early humans to raise slow-developing offspring together, forming the foundation of family and society itself. Even emotions like heartbreak, jealousy, and longing feelings that can torment the human heart are not flaws in this system. They are signals, reminders that our reproductive success once depended on loyalty, protection, and the stability of relationships. Through those bonds, our ancestors created communities that could endure famine, predators, and time. We didn't simply evolve to pass on genes. We evolved to build memories, to care for one another, to find purpose in connection. And through that love, fragile, fierce, and enduring humanity found a way to outlast extinction itself. Why did human reproduction evolve so differently? Because somewhere in our evolutionary past, nature made a radical choice. It gambled on vulnerability instead of brute strength, on emotion instead of instinct, and on cooperation instead of raw competition. That gamble changed everything. It gave rise to a species that could not only survive, but create a species capable of compassion, art, and the shared dream of civilization. Hidden within our most intimate moments lies the blueprint of what it means to be human. Every heartbeat shared, every whispered promise, every child cradled in the dark, they are not accidents of biology, but echoes of a deeper evolutionary truth. We became who we are, not through domination or control, but through connection. We are not merely the sum of our DNA. We are the living legacy of those who chose to protect instead of abandon, to nurture instead of neglect. Humanity was born. The moment caring became an instinct, and from that choice, everything else followed. If you find these stories of evolution and human origins fascinating, join us on Prehistoric Shadows, where we explore how our ancient past still lives within us today. Subscribe, stay curious, and keep asking, what made us human?